i.c.stars means many things to many different people. It's a marketing branding nightmare. For some of us, i.c.stars throws great networking events with thought leaders, and it allows us to get in touch with our colleagues and learn something, share something, and do something. For many of us who are millennials or Generation Y, i.c.stars is a 4-month internship, commonly and lovingly referred to as a boot camp of torture and innovation that has job placement assistance on the other side. And someone just told me 2 weeks ago what they think i.c.stars is a giant light bulb. I said, what do you mean a giant light bulb? Like, turn on the light, like innovation? And they said, no, 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 a light bulb. There's something about i.c.stars that allows us to see not only what is possible, but to address the seemingly impossible. So in 1999, if you can kind of do the Michael Myers, go back in time, you may remember that in technology it was an exciting time. There were .coms starting everywhere. People, ordinary people, were excited about technology in a way that didn't exist before. People would say things like, and now it's time for the geeks to inherit the earth. And it was a time of innovation. And I remember the other co-founder and I were working in an organization, and we were commonly and lovingly referred to as the lights-on girls. Because we were in a culture where everybody left the office at 5 o'clock. The office was locked up tight, and the lights got turned off. And so the people who stayed after 5, which were me and my best friend, were seen as the enemy because we made everybody else look bad. So we had this elaborate trick of pretending to leave the building. We'd have our briefcases and, oh, great day at the office, you know. And then we would sneak back in and turn on the lights. And it was in those moments that she was in charge primarily of recruiting volunteers from the corporate sector to come and be involved in this workforce development organization. My job was to teach math and science. And let me tell you this, I didn't grow up a geek. I was a performing arts kid. And for the most part, we were separated. You know, the geeks here, performing arts kids here, and probably the only time we ever mixed was in band. We got to socialize, we got to meet each other, but that was really about it. I discovered math and science through innovation. So one of my first teaching gigs was to teach nuclear physics. And I thought, how in the world am I going to teach nuclear physics to a bunch of high school kids? This is no easy feat. So I locked myself in my apartment for the weekend and I said, how am I going to crack this nut? And I started to think about what is unstable? What is radioactive? What does it mean for something to decay, to break down? When I thought, my gosh, you know, we are living this. We live in unstable communities. Some of us have unstable families. We watch our friends and families break down, become unstable. We're in a school system where everything's unstable. Everything's breaking down. Why is it so difficult to teach the concept of nuclear physics when we're living among it? And so I said to all my students on the very first day, and they were wearing these very puffy coats, and I said, well, okay, my first objective is to get you to unzip your puffy coat. And they wouldn't. They really needed to be insulated. And I said, okay, well, I want you all to think about, if you could be any kind of doctor, what kind of doctor would you be? So many of the teenage girls raised their hands and they said, I want to be an obstetrician. I want to deliver babies. I thought that made sense, sure. What about you fellas there in the back seat all zipped up, trying to look all mean and rough? What about you? What kind of doctor do you want to be? And believe it or not, they wanted to be heart surgeons. Heart surgeons. So we had life and heart right there in the classroom, and I drew the parallel. That isn't that what the ultimate journey of education can be? Connecting your life to your heart, to your intellect, to your path. And they looked at me like I was crazy. But then I said, well, for today, we're all going to be psychiatrists. And we're going to chart the rate of the decay of our patients. And they're either alpha patients, or beta patients, or X-ray. We can see right through them. They wear their heart on their sleeve. And everybody understood that. Everybody understood the kind of person who's only going to feel good when they're making somebody else feel bad. Or everyone understands the person who's emitting so many protons that they don't have enough left for themselves to take care of themselves. That caregiver. The matriarch of their family, if you will. And before you know it, we were learning science. And nuclear physics was not anything that we hadn't experienced before. It was the context that we hadn't been in. So my students did really well. And that lights on evening, I was telling the co-founder about our great day in nuclear physics. And she said, well, great. We've got some great volunteers at Abbott, at Baxter, and we can build this whole thing. We can bring people in, we can take people out. We can essentially build a bridge to the corporate experience and allow people to really see science in action. And we were excited, and it was awesome. And the next day I had lunch with a former student because they'd all come back and visit me. And the question was, what are you doing with your science? What is your truth today? Years after they graduated. And he explained a situation to me where he was working in a job where he was being exploited. He wasn't making minimum wage. And he said to me, you'd be surprised at what people don't know about mixing chemicals. People really don't understand the properties of ammonia, Sandy. He was in cleaning services. Now this kid was one of the brightest kids that I taught in years. Brilliant. And I thought to myself, this is just wrong. And it broke my heart. And he could see that it was breaking my heart, and he said, Sandy, you're not listening to me. You've always told us that leadership is about making opportunities for others. And it doesn't matter whether I'm standing in a lecture hall or I have a lab coat on. I'm teaching, one by one. And isn't that what you did with us? And I thought, holy cow, I want to start a program for people like him. And so that night, our lights on moment was the beginning of i.c.stars. We love technology because it is creative. It doesn't matter what you look like. And the year was 1999. You could see how cool it was. I could sell it to young people because as programmers, you got to write the rules. You shifted from being a consumer to being an innovator. And it was hot. I could see a whole rainbow of people wearing pocket protectors and pushing their glasses up their nose. And these people being proud, being innovative, and being cooler than they'd ever been before. Now, technology wasn't the only piece. There had to be a leadership component. There had to be something for that young man that I had visited with today, that for him, it wasn't just about what he knew, it was about sharing it with others. So not to create the next technology school, but to create 1,000 community leaders by 2020. And what would that mean? That would mean people going into the communities and making opportunities for others.